Hello. Welcome to episode 9 of the Blindsided podcast. In today's episode, we're bringing all past 8 episodes into one episode today. And I know there's many people on today that have been here since episode 1 right up until now. And in this episode, we're going to do the same thoughts lead to the same choices. The same choices lead to the same behaviors. The same behaviors produce the same experiences. The same experiences create these same emotions, and those same emotions influence our very same thoughts. Hi, my name is Charlie Collins. I am a speaker, a coach, and co founder of Thriving Blind Academy.
Hey, Charlie. That was great. You nailed that intro. Good job. My name is Brenda. I'm the founder of Time for a 10. We are an emotional awareness coaching service, and we teach people how to challenge their conditioned thinking so that they can change their reality and their emotions.
Good morning, both of you, Charlie and Brenda. And I am Stanley Dietrich. I am the founder of 360 Life Without Limits. And I'm a coach, a peak performance coach. I focus on the brain, the body, and the spirit all combined because you can't separate them. And I help people live a life without limits. And I'm excited to join you today in this topic that we're going to cover. So buckle up.
And deja vu, Stanley's with us again.
Yeah.
And I'm going to give us a little breathing room. All right. So thank you all. And the greatest habit that you can change, the greatest habit you can break is the habit of being yourself. And that is a quote from Dr. Joe Dispenza. And that is, I remember reading that and hearing that, thinking the habit of being myself. Oh, it really makes sense. So here is the habit, the unconscious, the way it was, and the way, I know we won't really go into the way it is now, but it's totally different. So anyway, back in the day, I had a company not far from my home. It was pretty easy to get there and start my day and all, but it was interesting because I would go to bed the night before later than I wanted. I would say the day before, like, today's the day. I'm going to go to bed earlier. I'm not going to eat garbage after dinner, like eat ice cream and watch movies and do just, mind-numbing type of activities. I'm going to get to bed earlier. I'm going to get up earlier, and I'm going to, start my day much more positive. And I couldn't seem to do that. I would then stay up late. I would get up at the last minute. I would then run and jump in the shower. And in the shower, I was thinking about what am I going to wear? And then when I was getting dressed, I was thinking about how fast I could get something to eat and get out of the house. And then when I was eating, I was irritated with people talking to me, like my wife and kids. and I'm wondering, and the dog needed me. And it's like, gosh, don't these people get it? I have an agenda. I've got to be somewhere. I got to open the company. I got to get to work. And then I get to work. And then now I have this, I'm at work and I'm thinking of these people, these customers and all around me got to do the right things all day so I don't feel frustration or get angry. And then I got to come home and oh my gosh. And that cycle, that same thought that led to the same choices and that led to, but why is this happening? I woke up in the morning and I said, today's the day. I'm going to change. I'm not going to stay up late. There was something brewing deep inside of me, this unconscious habit, this addiction to the way it was, the known. I couldn't break free of that.
I can so identify with that, Charlie. You're talking about, for me, what I called my conditioned thinking. It's just the patterns. It's the hiking trail I go on every day. It's familiar. The path is nice and clear. I know how to get from A to Z. There's no rocks that I don't know where they are. No roots that I don't know how to climb over. It is what I call the familiarity bias. It's a hard word for me to say. And I'm comfortable in what's familiar. I know what to expect. There's a a feeling of control in that space, even if it's unhealthy.
Yeah, I think that's the story of everybody. And I want to say everybody, because if we're honest with ourselves, then we can say, why do I do those things? Why is every day the same? It's like Groundhog Day. You wake up and it's the same thing and we want something different. And why is it that we do the things that we don't want to do? And we don't do the things that we do want to do or know to do. So, yeah, uh, it is a conscious effort to break that cycle. And once you see that cycle, then you become more aware of it. But how many times does it take to see that cycle? That's the question I have.
Well, I think Jim Rohn, he says people change generally for one of two reasons: inspiration or desperation.
Mhm.
And I finally, a question like, is this it? I mean, really? I'm making money. I have a beautiful family. I have material things. All that outside of me was taken care of, but I'm still not feeling at peace at times. I'm still feeling frustrated. I'm still feeling confused. And I'm angry with myself because I can't seem to just have a thought like today's the day, but that day I can't control it. Something is controlling me. And I finally, as we have talked about over and over, and as the three of us and many people on here, we woke up to, Stanley, you said, if I'm being honest with myself, is it true that as I get older life gets more hard? I thought as I got older the more wisdom and knowledge that I brought into my life, that I would take different action.
Wow. So you said something really important. You had everything that you thought, I'll be happy when. You had everything you thought would make you happy. And the conditioned thinking for me was what I thought would make me happy is what I was taught would make me happy by my parents, by my teachers, by social media, by advertising, the things that should. We have a saying in our circle, our small circles, about not shoulding all over yourself. What should make me happy? And that for me was all coming from the neck up. It had nothing to do with what was in my heart, the things that brought me passion, the things that really excited me or that I really enjoyed to do. It was all about, what am I supposed to do based on what everybody else has told me will give me the life beyond my wildest dreams. So even when I had it, and I was in the same boat as you, Charlie, I had everything. I had a venture capital funded software company, a beautiful home, great relationship, beautiful kids, everyone was healthy, and I wasn't happy. I was unsettled.
That in itself, Brenda, is a whole nother topic. And I think we could take that clip right there and explode on that, because here's the thing, when I was 20, I thought that at 40, I'd have it all together. And then I got to be 40 and I'm like, wait a minute, I still feel like I'm 20. And, add a couple more decades there and I'm 60 now. And I'm going, gosh, how much more can I learn? How much more can I grow? And, when we set a monumental date ahead of us and we think that is the finish line, and then we discover that it is just the beginning again, it can be exciting and it can also be overwhelming. And so this is, this idea about doing the same thing over and saying, tomorrow's going to be better. Well, I looked on my calendar and it has Saturday through Sunday, and tomorrow is never on there. I don't get it. And someday is never on my calendar. I've gone through a bunch of calendars and it's not there. So help me understand and help our audience really dive into this idea of taking those limitations off and changing our pattern, because that's what you're saying creates a different result.
Yes, and I do have a calendar. Um, and it just made a noise on my phone. Thank you, Stanley. 86, so Gallup did a poll, and 86% of people wake up to their cell phone, and they wake up to, what text message did I miss? What's going on social media? What emails should I pre look at so I can be prepared when I get to work? What are those other people that trigger me and irritate me doing today? I got to keep an eye on them. So, what is the news? What bad things have happened today? It's just unconscious. It's a habit. That's what I do. I pick it up. I go through all the things on there and I put it down. But I'm now triggering inside of me that something outside of me on that phone is going to start solving or helping me get out of breaking the habit of being myself. And so that's 86%. And as I talked about, I because I would go into this workplace or into the store. I use the store all the time. But as I went out into these environments, it would trigger my blaming, my complaining, my justifying, my defending why it's okay to act this way and be this way, my excuse making, and my poor me that rational lying to myself, rationalizing it. Why does the world seem to be out to get me, against me? Why does so many people seem to act in a way that triggers me or gets me mad? And I finally, Stanley, you said, what is this going to take? Why am I focusing on outside of me because I don't know I am?
I've had the same experiences, Charlie and Stanley. And again, it's things aren't going the way my brain wants them to go, is expecting them to go, needs them to go for me to be okay. And instead of going inward and saying, what's the problem? Because I know the problem is me, it's my perception, it's the way I'm taking in the world and expecting it to respond. I project the blame outward. Well, it's the traffic and it's the slow person in line. And it's you're not doing, you're talking to me when I'm trying to finish breakfast and getting out the door. Don't you know how important I am and how it's important for me to get out the door and do my thing? And it just goes on and on and on. And we're living in that box again. I like to talk about the box. This is the box. And when we live in that little tiny box, so many problems happen.
Yeah, and both of you, I'm taking notes mentally as you're talking, and what I'm hearing is that the quality of our questions control the quality of our life or the quality of our day. So when you're asking ourselves questions that are not positive, that are actually judgmental, why does this always happen to me? Why am I doing this? It's nothing. I'm never good enough. I should, I could, I wish I would have. And when we ask those quality of questions, our brain has a library that it comes up with an answer. I'll tell you why this always happens to you, because this is what you do. And then you answer back and you go, oh yeah, I did do that. Why do I always do that? Now your brain comes up with another question, answer, and it's just perpetual feeding that takes place.
Absolutely. I'm just going to interrupt for a second, Charlie, and say good morning to everybody that's joined us on the podcast. We're so glad you're here. And I want to read a comment from Trish. She says, the quality of our questions and comments, that's powerful. So thank you, Stanley, for that. Really powerful. I thought that was powerful too. Hello to Cassidy.
Go ahead.
There's a long list of names, so I'll grab a couple every now and again and say hello. It's nothing personal. I'm just grabbing names as they pop up. They pop up fast.
All right, Stanley, will you recap that?
So you've got a great slide here. It says the same thoughts will always lead to the same choices. Same choices always lead to the same behaviors. The same behaviors create the same experiences, and the same experiences produce the same emotions, and those same emotions influence your very same thoughts, and the cycle continues.
And so the question is not what's wrong with me anymore. I don't ask that question. What's wrong with me? Nothing. I'm operating out of a set of programs, beliefs, and unconscious habits that is producing these emotions that are then influencing my next set of thoughts, which are then choices, behaviors, and experiences, and and I'm caught up in that, and I'm blaming outside of me for that suffering that I'm living. But what can we do? Well, this is Stanley. Just give a quick representation of this slide, please.
Yes. So the same thoughts lead to the same choices, which lead to the same actions and behaviors. And that leads to the same experience, the same feelings, and it's a perpetual cycle. Now, you change that, you create a new thought, it creates a new choice. And that new choice creates a new action and a behavior. And that new action and behavior creates a new experience, which then creates a new feeling.
And this is
personal transformation requires a concept called metacognition.
And metacognition, I remember when I first learned about that, I'm thinking, I know what metaconfused is. And let me go to one more slide here.
Okay, so metacognition is the awareness and understanding of one's own thought process.
Let's talk about that a little bit. Brenda?
Beautiful. We have a comment from Corey who nails what I was just about to say. So I need to get off the hamster wheel. And then that's spot on. So first, the graphic you presented on the left-hand side is survival. On the right-hand side is actual living, like authentic living. Yes. So in metacognition, it's thinking about thinking. It's thinking about thinking. And you take a moment to actually pause. We talked about pause, process, and proceed with purpose. You take a moment to challenge what you're thinking about and the conversation you're having. You can stop and say, why am I even having this conversation with myself? And what is it for my highest good? What am I getting out of it?
Yeah, the idea behind metacognition and talking to ourselves daily, you are talking to yourself, I'm talking to myself. And so it is how I frame that question or how I frame that statement. It can be positive or negative. And I'm the decider of that. And it's a perpetual cycle that I'm not even aware of. But once I'm aware of that, that's where the transformation takes place. And it's not listening to a motivational speech. It's not just getting inspired for the moment. It's not having that piece of decadent chocolate that just melts in your mouth. Okay. So, but it is, what is it that's giving the quality of that decadent chocolate, the emotion that I have behind it? So what is that decadent thought that I can think that can create a greater me?
Where our attention goes, energy flows. Right. Thoughts are energy. They produce a reaction in the body. They actually send energy through the body. Some instantly trigger an emotion, and some help move us into a behavior that helps produce a better emotion. I can tell you that once I went to a couple conferences and I opened the world to metacognition. I opened the world to I have the ability to respond to life's events. I have the ability to question my thoughts. I have that ability. I am in control. There's no one showing up at my front door that's going to ring the doorbell and say, here's the magic pill. I will fix it. This pill will solve all those people's that irritate you, that will solve all your problems. That didn't happen. All of a sudden, you guys, I was in the shower thinking about how grateful I am to have warm water, to have hot water. I have soap. I got all this great stuff. And I am so lucky. I got a fan that takes out the steam. And look at these nice clothes I have. I wonder who made these. Well, But like, wow, I am so lucky. I have long sleeves to keep me warm and heat in the house. This shift happened where I started getting more present and started noticing what I'm grateful for. And I started slowing way down. That Ferrari in first gear, I like that. I like being that guy. I like going fast, hard, thinking quick, basing decisions out of just quick movement. But all of a sudden, that Ferrari, the RPM started coming down. I started getting up earlier. I started sitting with self. I started putting on headphones. I started allowing my mind to relax a little. And oh my God, the pieces started landing together.
Absolutely. You just reminded me that, the doing, going. It's almost like TikTok. You swipe, 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 swipe. Do you ever really stop and watch a whole video? Maybe one out of 15 or 20. I've gotten into TikTok because at Time for a 10, we post educational videos out there. But where does that metacognition, where does it come from? How does it get there in our brain to begin with? And we've talked about this. And it's, our brain is programmed from 0 to 7. So 0 to 7, we watch everything around us, we take it in, and our subconscious brain is programmed. So that's the foundation of the belief system that gets installed. And then we have all these experiences. Imagine that, all of your experiences, like Stanley was saying, it's stored back there. And when you have a feeling that's similar, say, to a trauma you experienced between 0 to 7 or in your early childhood years, the brain brings it all in. It doesn't say, oh, this is different than that 7-year-old feeling. It brings that feeling in along with the feeling you're having, and that becomes the reality, and it really isn't.
Yeah, thank you, Brenda. You bring up a great point. The feelings are not facts. And this is what I tell my clients. Just because you feel it doesn't mean that it's true. Okay. And when you challenge what it is that you've been programmed to believe, okay, and what is it that we believe? The things that we hear. So if you hear a bunch of negative, you think that the world is negative. You think that everything is negative. If you hear nothing but positive, you think the world is positive. So you can have two people that go to an event and one walks away with a super good feeling, and another one walks away feeling judged. And it's understanding that those feelings are not facts, and there's a difference. And so, that brings up a question of how do you know what a fact is? Well, that's another topic. But what I want to say is challenge whatever you're feeling. What is your state? What is your environment? Who are the people that you're with? What is their influence on your life? And what is your own influence on your life? So yeah, this is a great topic to dive into.
Well, I believe it's the whole crux. The crux of the problem is within me. It's it's my unconscious habits and beliefs and all that. But the crux of the solution is within me. And Brendan, you and I would talk about this. So we were just chatting about it maybe last night on the phone, and we were saying how, okay, I'm done now, but now I've gone into this. All of a sudden, I feel uncomfortable. Like I sadly, that way of life is my known. So what does my brain wants to keep me in the known because it feels safe. But I want to push out of that. I want to start questioning. I want to start enjoying my thoughts, not battling with them or saying you shouldn't think that way. Oh my gosh, that person, how do you know that? And then I started feeling uncomfortable. So what would I do, Brenda? Like we were saying, like as soon as I felt uncomfortable, I would seek comfort. That might be through shopping, maybe not so much shopping or electronics or playing with cameras, or it would be eating. Oh, that one really helps with uncomfortable. And it doesn't, but in the moment it seems. But how did I break through? How did I start breaking the habit of being myself? Is that I sat in the uncomfort. Because it's okay to be uncomfortable. Just question it. Just own it. And by doing that, I started going into a new comfort.
Beautiful. This is right up my alley. So even just, I mean, I could talk all day about this. So giving yourself permission to experience the discomfort, that's the first step. Just saying, you know what, I'm not going to self-soothe with whatever. And there's a million things you can self-soothe with. Or an example of self-soothing is anything that would distract you from feeling that discomfort. And Charlie, everything you said. So what do we get out of feeling it? Well, it gets to express itself. That energy gets to move out of your body if you allow it to express. And the other thing is you can get curious about it. Like, ask it questions. I literally ask my feelings questions. Like, how old was I when I felt this? How old are you, this feeling? And that kind of helps me. Is it coming from the past or is it really coming from this situation? And what are you here to teach me? What can I learn from it? I don't have to engage with it in a negative way, in a dramatic way, and cause all this. Oh my gosh. I could just take a breath, invite it in, consent for it to express, and ask it questions. What are you here for? I don't have to give it power.
Mm-mm.
I get so excited because this was so freeing for me, this whole
Yeah.
thing. I'm going to dip it because I'll just keep going on and on.
Yeah. Getting comfortable with the uncomfortable. And like you said, Charlie, it is, why do we do the same things that we do over and over and we get the same results and then we complain that we're getting the same results that we're getting? Is because we're doing things that are comfortable even though they're uncomfortable. Let me give you an example. So let's say someone's in a bad relationship and they keep going back to that bad relationship. And then, they'll ask, what should I do, Stan? And I go, well, since you can't beat the person up, okay, I don't know karate, but I do know crazy. And if you keep going back to the same environment and you get the same results, when is that comfort level of staying and getting those same results going to propel you to change? So whether it's a job or a relationship, or whether it's an environment or a house or a car, when you get tired of having the same results, you make a decision one day to say, no more. Yeah. I'm going to stop.
Yeah.
And that means, change yourself first and then change your environment. And once you begin to change yourself and change the way that you see yourself, then you can change your environment. You can quit that job and you might get actually the job of your dreams. You might get the relationship of your dreams. Now, I'm not telling everybody to just go and file for divorce. I'm just saying, listen, if it's crazy, get rid of it. But change who you are in your thinking and the results that you're getting internally, and then you can change your environment much quicker.
Wow, Stanley, you were really defining insanity, doing the same things over and over, expecting different results, and a design for living, a program of action. One of them, several I've implemented in my life, had a statement, and it said, "For by this time, sanity will have returned, because I have ceased fighting anything and anyone or anyone." So I have stopped pushing outside of me that somehow, someday, that out there will act in a certain way and make me feel a certain way. And that was over, because that was an insane idea. And I finally took responsibility, the ability to respond to how I think, how I feel, how I act. And I took this responsibility, and it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy at all. It's like, really? I am going on a walk and I'm irritated that people don't trim the line on the sidewalk. How could they live like this? And then I got curious. Boy, that's pretty freeing to be able to accept that. I'm very anal. And I realized, because of being curious, and Stanley, you opened with asking the question. Be curious, ask the question, feel the feeling, know it's not a fact or it's the end game. And you know what? Anxiety and stress are good. As soon as we feel it, oh, I got to go to the doctor, he's got to fix that. No, It's telling your body something for a reason. It's showing us that maybe the path isn't the right one, or I'm anxious about learning something new. Because Brenda, you said the old day, because I might do it wrong or I might fail, and then what will they think of me? Well, that's off the table now. I'm just going to go for it and learn something new.
Yes, yes. And both of you said something really important. And I've been guilty of this in past jobs, past relationships, is, somebody's doing something that isn't healthy for you. And so I'm putting all my energy, all of it, 100% into changing that person. I'm going to fix them. I'm going to show them how to do it right. They're going to get it. I'm going to change them. And that never works. The only person you can change is yourself. And as you start to change yourself, Charlie, you keep saying, I have to be greater than, I have to think greater than I feel. Is that how it goes? I have to think greater than I feel.
Yes, but no have tos in my language.
Yes. I would like to think greater than I feel. And there's another saying, and I'm sure I'm going to mess it up, but maybe not. It has to do with change. Somebody help me out. When I change what I'm looking at changes, something like that. And so the change has to come from within me. And so as I start to change myself, my perceptions start to change. When I start to love myself, I start to attract in love. When I start to be patient with myself, I can be patient with other people. It all starts within you. We can't give what we don't have.
Yeah. Yeah. You made a comment there when I change the way that I see things, the things that I see will change. And I'll give you a quick example from last night. My yard is getting full of dandelions. Now, years ago, that would drive me just absolutely nuts. And now my granddaughters are out there blowing the seeds, and how much joy that brings them and how much laughter it brings them. And my daughter made a comment last night, and she said, Dad, when we were growing up, this would have drove you crazy, seeing all these dandelions in the yard. And I said, yeah, but that was before I knew the nutritional value of a dandelion leaf. And now I don't put anything on my yard, and I harvest those leaves, and I put them in my salad, I put them in my smoothie, and they're actually very good. So it was a change of my thinking about something, and I saw the dandelion different. And now the dandelion means something more to me. It's free nutrition. It's a free salad.
Well, I have a new name for you. It's Standy-lion. That doesn't surprise me at all, Stanley, because you bring some serious change to the table in our discussions. It's like, what? You're wearing what on your head? And isn't that beautiful, Brenda? That we see the world as we are.
Yes.
And I didn't know that. I didn't know that until it was brought to me. I was in a conference in 2008, and Jack Canfield had a person on the stage in a chair, and they were a victim. I have to. I am, my work makes me. I have to do this, and I a prisoner in their own mind, in their own environment, and they were constantly triggered, full of anxiety, depressed, stressed to the max. And he put a gun. Well, okay, no, I'm sorry. Whoops. He didn't have a real gun. He did a fake this, and he put it to the person's head. And he said, you have to do what? Does somebody walk around with a gun in the side of your head all day, forcing you? And she was like, no. So is it possible that you could take charge of your thoughts, your actions, and start feeling better about you and the life you're living? And she was like, started crying. And I was in my chair going, oh my God, that's hitting right home. And that is what the whole essence of metacognition is to me. It's like, do I know that I'm thinking? Because I am 60 to 70,000 times a day. Those are the thoughts that are coming in or produced by me or just floating in like, woo, where'd that one come from? I ain't entertaining that one. But am I aware of that? And then do I question it? And then do I feel a certain way? And then am I giving myself permission to land in that feeling? I'm going to feel this way for 30 minutes. And it's okay. It's uncomfortable, but I'm going to give it 30 minutes and see where it goes and see what I do. Is it putting me into a depression and feeling sorry for myself, or is it helping me take an action, call a Brenda or a Stanley and saying, hey, I need some help seeing the truth in something I'm not able to. I'm blocked in this moment. That's where then I start seeing the world in a different light, because the way I see me is the way I saw the world.
Beautiful. And you know what? You just gave away such a key piece of information that's important for healing. And that's, we can't do it alone. Our metacognition can't fix our metacognition. We have to involve other people to give us another opinion. I should probably take a second. We haven't all through the podcast read any of the chats. We've been so engrossed in the conversation. Insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, says Kate, expecting different results. And Trish says, we are so in charge of our journey, and that's an exciting feeling. People are agreeing with feelings aren't facts. Please say it again, Charlie. That was like 30 minutes ago. Sorry about that. I don't know what he was saying. I missed that one. And
luckily it's recorded.
It's recorded, so you can go back to the live stream. And Molly is saying being present is critical, and remembering that I am in charge of my journey. Thank you for all the feedback in the chat there.
A little shout out that I happen to know a lot of those people. They're my family, and I am blessed to have the support of my sisters, my brother, my parents, my wife, and my children, and then families and friends, and they share it with it's like, wow, I was the black sheep of the family, the guy that, oh God, don't invite him to the party. It's amazing what personal transformation can do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we've been talking about the things that come into our mind and the things that we think that we know, and feelings are not facts. And what I want to say is that the three most dangerous words in the world, when you combine them together, are, write this down, I know that. Anytime you say, I know that, you are putting up a roadblock, and you're putting up body language that just says, you know what? I know that. Hey, listen, I don't need your advice. I don't need, because that's an area that I need to focus on. And I know that I need to focus on that. But just you saying that, I'm going to say as my defense, I know that. And when we say that, we eliminate the possibility of learning something about ourselves so that we can change the outcome that we are so desperately desiring. And, this is the beauty of it. It's knowing what you know, and you're not getting the results that you're getting. Maybe you don't know what you think you know, and maybe metacognition, changing the way that you see things, doing something different, you'll get the result that you actually want.
And Stanley, how come I know? Well, because I'm too afraid to get vulnerable. I'm too afraid to let you know I don't know. So I know. Mm-hmm. Because fear is a evil and corroding thread of my existence. And it based all my decisions, because what's fear? It's an emotion. It's me projecting and planning and thinking about that I suck, that I'm going to do it wrong, that I'm going to be embarrassed, that you're going to laugh at me. And boy, you two laugh at me a lot, and I love it. And laugh with me, not really at me. It's laughing with us, And boy, I'll tell you that the reason I knew, or I just didn't want to even talk about it. I know that I don't want to talk about it. It's like, because I'm afraid, and I don't need to know. And the beauty, and some of the most freeing words now is I don't know. Those are three of the most freeing words in my life.
Me too, Charlie. I love now being comfortable saying, I don't know. It's an invitation to learn. That's what it is, an invitation to learn. One of the strategies and we learned this in our other group that you and I belong to, Charlie, is, my first 9 thoughts now on anything, I completely dismiss. I don't even entertain them. Swipe, swipe, swipe. By the time I get to around 10, there's some reality, some truth coming forward. And why is that? Because my first 9 or 10 thoughts on anything are coming from my activated brain. They are coming from there, my amygdala, my past experiences, my metacognition. And by 10 thoughts, I'm starting to go down into my heart. I'm starting to go down into my soul, where the truth lives. We were talking earlier about crisis. When does a crisis actually happen? A crisis happens when one of your metacognitive beliefs fall apart. That's when a crisis ensues. And that's the time to become curious and not that. I'm just going to leave it at that. That's the time to become curious. I see Stanley nodding, so I want to hear his feedback on that.
Yeah. That's the truth of it is we go back to that previous experience, and then we judge the future experience based on that. And it is our defense mechanism. It's our survival mode that eliminates the possibilities of what could be to what has been.
Yes. Yeah.
And, when you become aware of that, and it's not rocket science, it's just becoming aware that you're aware of what's going on. Okay. So I walk into the grocery store and I start thinking that everybody's looking at me because I must have something on my shirt. And I keep looking down at my shirt and I don't see anything. But every time somebody walks by, they're like got a smile on their face. So I look at my shirt how many times to see if that spot reappeared. It's like it's a magic spot. And so these are the thoughts that can come in. And when I'm aware of that and go, there's no spot, my shirt, they just like my shirt. And now it changes everything. Now I can put a smile on my face and walk by. So I don't want to get too far off this topic here, but anytime you say "but," it always negates what you just said beforehand. So I don't want to get too far off the topic. And one of the exercises that I do is I just tell people, walk into a grocery store, look every person that you know in the eye, and say, "I love you" to them. And watch what the energy does and watch how your thinking changes. You don't have to say it out loud because that would be weird.
Woo.
Okay. But just say it, and they don't know what you're thinking. But see, when we change our thinking, then we change our outcome and we get the results that we want.
And I think about Stanley. If I had looked out my window this morning and my lawn had dandelions all over it, that would be a severe crisis. and I'm not going to run out and start chewing the leaves. So what I need but by hearing you say that, it's like, why do I care about dandelions? Well, people driving by will say, well, look at that loser. Or somebody walking by on the sidewalk will say, why doesn't he take care of his lawn? Now, do I know that? No. Why do I have that? Because the old me walked around doing that. How could you allow that? Don't you know there's things for weeds? And it's like, now, boy, I have work to do because I don't know if I could accept dandelions in my yard. And but that really opens me up to metacognition. It's like, why would I think it's a bad thing? Because I'm concerned with others who aren't even thinking about me or my lawn or my property. They're busy thinking about themselves.
Absolutely. We talked about this a few podcasts ago. Who am I thinking about 98% of the time? Who am I thinking about 98% of the time? Myself. So who are you thinking about 98% of the time? Yourself. So how can anything anyone does be about you? And how could they even possibly, how can you be a blip on their radar? It's just not the truth. That's challenging a metacognitive belief. Nobody's thinking about me or my lawn or my hair or what I do for a living or what I'm wearing in the grocery store. Nobody cares. They're thinking about themselves.
Yeah, it's the 14-40-60 rule. At 14, you think everybody's thinking about you. At 40, you're thinking about everybody else. At 60, you realize nobody was thinking about you at all.
What a relief. What a relief.
And that's when we fall more into the I don't know mind. And let me get centered and present, and let me start really playing full out in this game of life. Let me see where I can be of service. And I always bring it back to this. When I'm confused, or I'm uncomfortable, or I'm perplexed, or I don't like this new way of questioning my thoughts, and oh my gosh, getting present, I'm very uneasy. What is the simplest solution to that? Go be of service to someone else. Get out of your world and go into somebody else's and see how can I best serve? What can I do to improve your life? And all that rearrangement, all that struggle that was happening just melts away, because now it's about being of service. It's an absolute miracle.
Thinking about somebody else, how you can do something good for somebody else, paying it forward.
Yeah, and the thing about doing something for somebody else is I want to say that there is an element that we're doing it for ourselves, because we're paying it in retrospect. Is that what if somebody would have done that for us? And if we do that now going forward, we do that for them, what we would have had done for us. Now we can change the way that we're thinking, and then we can go, what else can I do? How else can I make an impact, not just on the world outside of me, but on the world inside of me? And then that changes everything, and we get a different outcome.
Excellent. So I just want to take a quick pause and say, first of all, we're streaming on several platforms. So we appreciate the chats coming in. It could be from Twitter. It could be from LinkedIn. It could be from a Facebook account. It could be from YouTube. But if you've received value, and if you could like the videos, if you could share them with your friends, if you could subscribe to the platform you're on or whatever, that will help us then show up next week and bring in more guests. And who knows, Stanley might show up a lot more. But we appreciate you being here. We appreciate your continued support and feedback, because that's what helps us keep moving the needle. I know, Stanley, I think it's you that don't like that. Sorry, but hey, you'll learn to accept that someday.
So this has been a great podcast today. And I just one of the things that really comes out of this whole discussion for me is, as you start moving out of your head and into your heart, you become your authentic self. So just be you. Just be you.
Yeah, and the other thing I want to iterate is that we don't have it all together. Okay, so we're here to share our journey so that journey can get shortened for you, and you can learn from our mistakes. So the one thing I don't want to do is learn all the mistakes by myself. I like to learn them from other people so that I don't have to make them again. And then that helps me know what I don't know and how to apply what I do know, and to magnify on that.
And cha-ching, perfect. And I think we appreciate, please send any questions. As we move this forward, we're going to do Q&A sessions. We're going to do a lot of neat stuff. But hey, this is episode number 9. Isn't that amazing? And we want to thank thank you, Brenda. Thank you, Stanley, for coming in today. Well, Brenda, you're going to be here, but thank you, Stanley, for being our guest again. We appreciate you and what you bring and help us to see more clearly.
It's edifying. I love being here. So thank you.
See you guys next week.
All right. I'm going to end with that wonderful ending I do. Bye-bye, everyone.
See ya.
Bye.